Right, we're down at Shawcross this morning. Alex Walmsley's very kindly done the Barlow shirt presentation, something really close to his heart as he's a former Barlow amateur player. Who would have thought a few years later you'd be winning the grand final and nominated for Man of Steel, mate? What a few years for you.
Yeah, it just keeps on getting better for me as a person, and I'm really enjoying my rugby at the minute. So it's been a strange 4 years. Obviously presenting the boys with their shirts, the Barlow shirts, was a massive honour. Going on a couple of tours myself back in the day was obviously a massive achievement back then, and brought back some good memories. I even played with a couple of these boys who I give the shirts to. So yeah, it's been a strange few years, but I'm still pinching myself, to be honest. It's struggling to get my head around it.
Who presented your shirt when you went?
I don't know, to be honest, mate. I don't think we did. I don't think we got one. We was I think Barlow's probably gone up a bit in the world now. Mick Turner's took over it. So I think we're just giving it back then.
I want to ask you about England end of the year. It's looking like you're going to be a shoo-in for a place in England. George Burgess this week being ruled out. Has the England selection crossed your mind at all?
Yeah, it's always been in the back of my mind, Simmo, but I think I've always said with England, I've never put a time on it. It's certainly an ambition of mine and a goal I'd love to achieve. Obviously, there's no greater honour than representing your country. So whether it happens this year or in 2 years or 10 years time, it's something I'm striding towards, and hopefully at some point I'll get my chance. But whether it's this year or whenever, that's yet to be decided. But all I can do is just keep on training as hard as I can and hopefully improving as a player.
Obviously, Steve Mack will name his team the day after grand final. I believe the boys find out, and it's released on the Monday, so Monday 13th, if I'm correct, or 12th of October. If you did get that call, who'll be the first person you phone?
Oh, it'll be my old man, definitely. Yeah, he'll be made up, to be honest. He obviously, your parents go through thick and thin with you as kids,
Yeah.
so giving up their time and that. So I'll probably give my old man a ring first, and I don't know what I think then, to be honest. I won't believe it, but that's a massive if at the minute. So we'll just have to see on that one.
You mentioned your parents there, and I noticed you cleaned up recently at the Saints Awards. What awards did you win?
The players, fans player, and players player.
Big Shot. BigShot.com. What did the boys say? Been getting into you? Are they all like...
Absolutely terrorised, mate. Absolutely terrorised. I don't want to go into it, to be honest.
You put a picture on Facebook saying that you wish your mum would have been there to see it. Obviously, a lot of people go through tragedy like yourself, and some people go the wrong way. But for you, it's really inspired you.
Yeah, I think obviously losing my mum a couple of years ago was, at the point, the hardest thing I've ever had to overcome, and it's still obviously it's been a difficult ordeal. But I think when you lose someone close to you, someone who inspires you as much as my mum did, was you sort of build upon that, as I find anyway. Obviously you want to make your parents as proud as you can, being children. So being their children, sorry. So I've obviously it's been a tough couple of years, sorry, and it's been difficult, pretty difficult talking about it now. It's still quite raw, but well, like I said, it's inspiring. I think people who know mother, and the story behind her, and where she battled on with illness. It's certainly something I take into my rugby life, and I think you sort of you can't look at stars that you where you are sometimes, and what you're doing for a living and stuff like that. So I don't take anything for granted at the minute, and I'm just training as hard as I can. Hopefully, keep on improving as a player.
There's some great props that, like Jamie Peacock, who's retiring this year, and Adrian Morley. Do those kind of characters inspire? Being so young, he's still like a young lad. You must have at least, if it goes by JP's age, at least 14 years still left at the top.
14 and the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, you look at Jamie Peacock and Morley and that, and they're the forwards you look up to, growing up as a kid, and you aspire to be like. So they're both of them to have had unbelievable careers and glittering careers, and the other way as well at Leeds. There's a few, and you sort of hang your hat on their sort of reputation, and hopefully one day you might be somewhat similar to that. But they're certainly very inspiring players to me, and if I ever have the career that the boys have, it'll be great.
Have you ever been starstruck going onto a field? Obviously, like we were saying a few years ago, you were still an amateur. Have you ever had that point of coming out, running out, and actually looking at someone going, "Oh my God, it's it's so in front of me. I'm
Yeah.
packing down with someone. Have you ever had that kind of?
Every single week, mate, and so now, to be honest. You know, I think.
Who were your hero? Which players have you played against? Who were your hero?
Oh, I've always looked up to Jamie Peacock. You know,
Yeah.
Jamie Peacock's certainly one of mine. And in the Saints team, you know, you look at Kieran Cunningham and Sean Long and Paul Wellens. You know, obviously, Sean and Kieran coaching me now, which is amazing. And obviously, Wello being the fullback he is. But there's so many. You know, Morley. I could go on for ages, mate. But I think starting for St Helens and. You're sort of sitting down in the change rooms, and you've got Paul Wellens to your left, and you've got John Wilkins to your right, and James Roberts in front of you, and Sia Soliola's over there to the left, and you think, bloody hell, what am I doing here? I don't belong here, but it's an amazing, to be where I am and playing with such legends of the game.
Right, coming out. Last question. Coming out playing, is it when you first signed at Saints or when you first made your way through the ranks of Batley? What was the biggest shock? Like, who hit the hardest? Of all players you played against, obviously coming through and not expecting to play against these guys, who hit the hardest?
Kafusi hit me a couple of times. We've had this discussion. You've teed that up purposely because we've had this discussion a couple of times. Yeah, I think Kafusi's caught me a couple of times and I thought, here we are.
You were scared of him?
I wasn't scared of him.
You were scared. You told me you were scared. A little bit
scared. That's a lie. That's a little bit of a lie. But I like how you're doing this for the TV and that. It's quite funny, mate. But no, listen. I thought when the first time we got hit was from Kafusi my first year, and I thought I'm in Super League now. I thought I'm here, but there's a lot of boys who can bend them, and I think Lulawai, he can certainly rattle them as well. So there's more than a few. Yeah. But cheers for that, mate.
Mate, best luck for the rest of the season.
Cheers,
hopefully it's a successful top
Thanks,
man.
bud.